Hi, my name's Billy with theoutdoorsmissouri.com, and I want to do a video on reloading accurate ammunition. I mean, really accurate ammunition. So this is how I do it, and we're going to start off with a 30-06 case, and this is what they look like after they've been shot. They're a little bit black around the edges and stuff like that. So, after they've been shot, maybe you went to the store and you bought a box of 20, and this is the brass that you're going to be using. The first step is to size it. Now, over here we have a Lee press. It's a really small press, and you're not going to be able to full-length size, and full-length sizing is not ideal for accuracy. So over here on the press, we're just going to load our bullet in the press, push it down there, pop that primer out, and size that brass. So now that it's been sized, it's neck size, so it's just this little part here, and then we kick the primer pocket out, or the primer itself out. Now the next thing is a primer pocket uniformer. This is important because the worst thing that can happen out on the range is you pull the trigger and nothing happens. So to prevent that, we're going to use this primer pocket uniforming tool. So we're just going to run that inside of there, and it's going to clean that up real nice. This is not something you have to do every time, but especially on your first brass. And I don't know if you can see how clean and shiny that looks. Okay, nice and clean in there. The very next thing you want to do, and you're going to do this maybe a bunch of times. Hopefully you have 50 or more empty shells to do this with. And then we're going to throw it in the tumbler right here. So we're just going to throw our dead brass deprimed in the tumbler and turn it on. So after your brass is tumbled for, let's say, 4 hours, up to 24 hours, 48 hours, after they're done, they're going to look something like that. Okay, nice and shiny and clean. You're going to dump out all your tumbling media, and sometimes they get stuck in the primer hole. Okay, I have one already here that I've kind of messed with. So this is your clean, deprimed, sized brass. And the next thing we want to do is we're going to have a bunch of them. The next thing we want to do is weigh them. So over here we got the scale. And this is a RCBS Rangemaster 750. Guys, when it comes to scales, you get what you pay for. You buy one of those cheap scales for $8. I'm telling you, they're not gonna do what they're supposed to do. So the first thing you do with your scale, whether it's RCBS, Horn Ready, or just a reloading scale, digital is not necessarily ideal. I mean, perfect. They have those balance beam scales that are really good. But we're going to calibrate this one, and this particular one calibrates like so. Okay, we're all calibrated up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to weigh our brass. This one's 185.4, so this would be, however you want to sort them. I do it maybe different than everybody else would. But if everything that's 185.4 is going to go in one row, and I'm going to try to get a row of, about at least 10, and we'll say these are all 185.4s. Okay? The next thing you want to do, and we're done with the scale for right now. The next thing you want to do is prime it. So to prime the brass, the way you can buy an apparatus for your die, like an attachment for your press. The way I do it is kind of the old-fashioned way. I have one of these Lee hand die sets. I don't prefer it, but that's all I have. So we're going to shake out a primer there. And the way I do this on the hand dies is I just put that primer in the middle. I'm going to strike it real nice and solid. Okay? And there's your primed, ready to reload brass. After you've sorted your brass, then the next thing that I recommend is you weigh these, your bullets. Now I know they come from the manufacturer already weighed. They're supposed to be about, so much, 155 grain, but just out of curiosity one day I went through and weighed a whole bunch of bullets. And I wasn't really surprised, but they were off maybe up to 2/10 of a grain. See, this is supposed to be a 155 grain bullet. It says 154.8. The next one, 154.9. So, and they're going to vary in the box. So when you get a new box of bullets, weigh them. See, 155.1. So everything that's 155.1 goes in a row, and we just separate them all. And you will come up with, they'll be all real close. So let's say they're all 155 even. That's the ones we want to use. So then we weigh our charges. Now I see a lot of guys, they have these big expensive powder drops, and they've got all kinds of different ways. Here's something that I like. Powder measuring kit from Lee. All it is a box full of those spoons that you get with your reloading dies. It goes from 3 cc all the way to 4.3. This is great because you can get a pretty accurate pour after you scoop it and pour it in there. And it tells you which ones to use, so you got to figure out how much powder you want to use based on the book that you're using. I use Hodgson's books, but even those vary somewhat. So you got to work your load up. That's why they have a minimum load and a maximum load. The minimum load is where you start, and if your rifle likes it, keep using it. Maybe go up 1/10 of a grain at a time until you get the perfect load. But if you're using, we like H380, 49 grains is the 3.4 cup, which is the one that usually you get with your die sets and stuff like that. We have 4064. It's in here somewhere. You just got to find them down, and there's even different ones for the back for using Norma and Noble and stuff like that, different powders. So that's what I use, and I just, I pour a little in there, and then I kind of just sprinkle in until I get the exact weight that I want. The next thing you do, and if you've reloaded any before, you get your funnel after your powder's in there and you put it on there. Bullet seating depth is really important, and I'm going to change dies and show you how I set up these dies right here. So we just unscrew these dies, and then here's the seating die. And the way I know, like I said, I'm not an expert, but this is how I do it. Just till it touches, and then back it off just a hair, and that's it. Now, how do you know how far to seat your bullet? I mean, there's books that tell you how far, but every gun's different. So what we've done was we've taken a neck-sized brass, and we've cut a sliver in it. Can you see that? Okay, so there's a little sliver cut in it. And this is after it's been neck-sized and shot in my rifle, not in anybody else's rifle. And what we do is we take our bullet that we're going to be using, and we just place it in there real nice and gently, real far up. And then we're going to put it in the rifle. So we're just going to gently put that in the chamber, slowly push it in there, and lock it down. We're going to unlock it, pull it out, and without bumping it, pull it back out. Now I'm going to take a caliper and measure it. So let's see what we get here. Whoops. So the number is 3.312. Now that's sitting right on the lands and grooves. We don't want to fire a rifle with it sitting that close to the lands and grooves. So what we want to do is in our seating die, we want to back that off. So let's just see what we're at here. Our seating die is 3.312. So we're going to want to back that just a little bit off. You know, some people will tell you 12 thousandths, 10 thousandths. I've talked to a few bench rest shooting guys, and they say 1 to 2,000. And that's what I'm going to go by, because I've watched these guys touch them all at 100 yards. I mean, not just touch them all, but put them in the same hole. It's really incredible. So I'm going to do what they tell me and set it back either 1 or 2 thousandths, a little bit off of that lands and grooves. But after you've set your die and it's locked in place, your powder put in your case, and then you put your bullet on, and you're going to seat your bullet. Okay? The idea, guys, is everything is done exactly the same. If you trim one, trim them all. Make sure they're all the same. When you tumble one set of brass, make sure you tumble the rest. You know, everything has got to be identical, because regardless of where the bullet hits, the idea is that they all hit in the same place. Okay? So that's how I reload highly accurate ammunition. And 30-06, it's not uncommon for us to get inside of an inch and a half, even an inch at 200 to 300 yards. It's not uncommon. So please check our other videos out and see some of that shooting in action. Visit us at theoutdoorsmissouri.com, and thanks a lot.